I'm Greg DePalma, and you're listening to Andrea Leanne's Australian Open Shot Clock for this Tuesday, the 16th of January, 2018, on the Prime Sports Radio Network with PSN tennis editor and former top 15 player in the world, Andrea Leanne. Our shot clock coverage will give you a rapid response by Andrea on the top headlines for the first Grand Slam of the season. And Andrea, as we get started here, what a disappointing first day for the Americans. It was really the top story of the tournament in day one, as many disappointing results, not the way that the American tennis players wanted to get started. And, you know, we talked before the show off the air about you having a pretty uneasy feeling about the state of Americans' game, that you thought that maybe they were getting a little carried away with the coverage.
Well, such a great U.S. Open last year. The Americans just performed and presented so beautifully, great successes. The American women in the semifinals, we expected the same thing. Our standards now are so high for them. But, of course, as you just mentioned, Greg, I was not happy with the preparation. Coco, Sloane, Jack Sock, even Venus did not come in early enough. They, of course, we had Coco and Jack playing the Hotman Cup, but really were playing exhibition tennis. We're not putting a full effort in. Mm-hmm. And we see that, you know, Jack Sock hot dogging in Auckland. Of course, the tournament promoter wants to take back his appearance fee, his $100,000 appearance fee, apparently, because Sock tanked the first match. He played there and went on to Melbourne. And we didn't see a lot differently there. He lost to Sagita again. Coco Vandeweghe, of course, the semifinalist last year, big breakthrough for her, defending a lot of points, and you could see the pressure, Greg. She really had trouble with the nerves. You could see the temper flaring. She, of course, profanity-laced outbursts at her opponent, at the umpire for not having enough bananas on court. Coco, put your own banana in your own bag.
I mean, that was funny, by the way, when she was having that meltdown with a couple of points left in the match, and then she goes over to talk to him, and he goes, "No, it started with the bananas." That was just hilarious.
She got a time violation because they finally did get bananas on court, and she wanted to go take a bite. The problem was she did have a bit of a flu, apparently, that kept her in bed, kept her sidelined a few days before the match, but that didn't matter, Greg. She was there 2 weeks beforehand. As we said, she played the Hotman Cup. She did not look good there, did not play very good tennis, not disciplined. And what I've noticed about Coco, if you take away all the emotions, is that she doesn't have a great defense. In fact, she has no defense. She plays one gear, and that's offense. It's all or nothing. It's the big baseline bashing, all the winners, the flair, the mojo, the strut. And when she can't hit her winners and she can't control the tempo, which she had trouble with against Babos, a very talented, tenacious Hungarian baseliner, who is also a very strong physical player, Coco really doesn't like it. And she doesn't like someone taking away her mojo and getting in her face and saying, you're not going to control this match, which is what Babos did. So it's interesting to see how they will regroup. The pressure's off her now. She's going to lose all the points. She's going to drop out of the top 10 in the rankings, and she'll have to regroup with Pat Cash. But I think that's okay. This should be a learning experience. She needs to find the maturity and the conditioning and also the defense in her game. She's got to expand her game. And we go to Sloane Stephens, who has both, Greg. She's got the defense. She's got the offense. She won the U.S. Open, so she has experience. But guess what? They asked Sloane, after you won that U.S. Open, did you have any expectations of anything changing? She said, yeah, I didn't think I was going to have to work too much. And if you're Sloane and you've had 11 months off, you come back for a few weeks, win a Grand Slam, why should you think you have to work? But unfortunately, Greg, she was not prepared. She looked out of shape. She did not look fit at all. And even though she was serving for the match, a set and 5-4 up, she was not able to put it away. The nerve showed. The first serve percentage was very low and was not able to really take control of that third, just fell apart because she got too tired. And her coach, Kamau Murray, was not happy. For the first time, we all saw a little bit of disappointment, not in her actual play, but in her attitude. And this is where, the term, Sloane's cooperating. You have to want more. You have to have that desire, because this is what we're seeing, quite frankly, Greg, in Madison Keys. And that's why we picked Madison Keys to perhaps win the title, because she, even though she's younger than both of these women, is able to now have that maturity and that fitness to go with what we saw at the U.S. Open, a hunger and a drive and a resourcefulness to dig her way out and find a way to win when she's not playing her best.
And by the way, we want to remind everybody what we talked about on our preview show when we went over the very big match for Venus Williams and talked about, you had mentioned what a difficult match that was going to be. You predicted that she was going to lose the match. And yet there were some other analysts that actually predicted Venus was going to win the entire tournament.
Well, we asked, what Tracy Austin and Leaf Cyrus, both friends of mine, knew that I didn't know because I did not see her winning the tournament as they anticipated. Venus Williams came into Sydney, came in late, had a bye, lost to Kerber, tough loss, obviously tough draw. Never had the matches under her belt, really to find a rhythm, have that first serve percentage win, and also be able to take control and exert that psychological edge she had over Bencic her whole career. You have to give credit, though, to Bencic, and this is the real talent we're seeing in this younger generation. Bencic, former coach of was Melanie Molitor, Martina Hingis' mother. You're seeing the same incredible visual eye contact with the ball. Bencic is able to take the ball so early, Greg, and see the ball so well. Reminds me a little bit of Chris Evert, that she was able to pick up those returns on Venus' serve, anticipate where the ball was going, take it on the rise, and rush and dictate the points against Venus. And Venus never was in control of that match. And quite frankly, again, you've got to go down early. You have to get used to the conditions, acclimatize your body to the heat. And I just did not feel Venus looked comfortable from the start. Of course, this was the toughest first round. If you couldn't have asked for a tougher first round for Venus, this was it. She had her boyfriend there. She had her team there. She had her mother there. Everyone was there to support her because she is such an incredible champion, and she gives everything. This is someone who does give 150% every single point. She's a true professional, and this is why she's so revered and respected. But you have to give credit to Bencic, and she even left some break points on the table, 5 for 11. Had 11 break point opportunities on Venus, just to give you an idea of how she was all over that Williams serve. But I think this is a gal we're going to see a lot more of, and it certainly was nice to have Roger Federer's parents sitting in your box cheering you on.
That never hurts. As far as the Americans that are left, you mentioned Keys. You also have Ryan Harrison. Lauren Davis, by the way, is going to take on Petkovic. We talked about that being a potential upset against Kvitova. And Sam Querrey wins rather easily. We were kind of surprised about how easily he won because he was struggling coming into that match. So that really opens up things for Sam Querrey.
Well, it does. We did mark that the U.S. is 10 for 21, okay? They have 10 players still left in the main draw. As we speak, they're going to be playing in a few hours. But, yeah, Querrey's in. We forgot to mention John Isner also went down in the first round. A really flat performance from John Isner. Quite frankly, he looked fit. He looked very content, looked relaxed, but went out there and was just flat. Had no business losing to a guy, Ebden, who's really not in his league. And we are now seeing a little bit of this type of pattern of behavior with John. We saw the U.S. Open, wasn't able to rise to the occasion in a night match, a big night match for him. And now, of course, at the Australian Open in the first round, again, as he termed it, a quote-unquote flat performance. And to me, it's just, maybe it's his age, it's the last chapter, he's been around, he's done it, but he's going to have to find a way to get his mojo going if he's going to be a factor this year. You cannot just show up at the Grand Slam and let these matches go when you're at the end tail. You really want to seize the moment and take advantage of every opportunity, you would think, because Sam Querrey is, of course, he always glides through under the radar. That's where he performs at his best. So we'll have to see if he and Ryan Harrison, who won a 5-setter, by the way, over Sela, in a very contested match, a lot of heated moments between the two competitors, not very good friends, obviously. And Kula also beating Stevie Johnson in an All-American first round, too. So good match for Kula.
All right, now what do you think about the comeback performances of several top players, including Stan and Novak?
Well, of course, everyone's talking about Novak Djokovic on and off court. They have the annual player meetings there, and before the tournament started, Novak, of course, who is president of the for the Players Association, got up at the meeting and made all the officials leave the room. There are about 100, 150 players or so there. It's one of the few times a year all the players meet and go over the course of what's going on for the year. And he made all the officials leave, very, very tense. And with that, apparently, and all the details obviously are not being disclosed because they are trying to keep this confidential, but the basic gist is this is kind of a ongoing issue where the players want their own union. They want an advocate for their rights. They want, obviously, a higher percentage in prize money. That's the easiest vehicle to try and assert themselves. And there are a lot of other things they're going. But I think, Greg, the general gist is the players want to feel that they have advocates who are going and really fighting for them. Now, I personally think the ATP does. You have Justin Gimelstob. You cannot have a better advocate than Justin Gimelstob. He will go right to the mat for anything, for any player. But the women feel the same way. And that's why you saw Gary Brody be voted on as the representative for the top 20. They are so happy with him there. They are so happy that he's starting to spearhead some marketing initiatives and other things. And they really feel very confident that taking outsiders is the way to go. So it's going to be interesting to see if this initiative by Novak at the Australian Open comes to anything. We'll have to see. Obviously, though, on court, Novak was as smooth as always. His timing, his rhythm, perfect. Donald Young posed no challenge at all to him, so we really didn't see a real test of what he has to offer. But what I like, Greg, is the way he looks. He has 10 to 12 pounds of muscle on his frame now. You know, he had gotten so emaciated by the end of his entail in the middle of last year. He was all skin and bones. Now he really looks like an athlete. He looks healthy. He looks younger. He looks fresher. And I think that this is a Novak that has a better perspective. Andre Agassi has not left his side. It's very much a unit. Stepanik is there as well, and they all very much move in tandem. And I think these type of external cues and support behind the scenes is absolutely crucial for Novak. He really depends on it, unlike a lot of the other top players. So right now, all signs are good. There was no actually mention of the elbow. They were more interested in quote unquote Novak's boycott attempt, but off court. But I think that Novak's got a full plate on court, as he said, and he has a lot more to prove, and we'll have to see.
And Stan survived four-setter.
Stan with the big, huge scar on the knee, Greg. Huge scar for Stan Wawrinka. But you know what? As Paul Anaco mentioned, it's not bigger than his heart. And this is a guy who got out there. It's amazing, Greg, how he has gotten himself into such great shape in 10 days. I mean, it's a noticeable weight loss. He looks much more fit, much more defined, and he obviously can work his way into shape and match toughness very quickly. And he played terrific tennis, all dimensions of his game on full go. He said that he is still having a little bit of pain in that knee. So we'll have to see how it holds up if he has a 3 out of 5 set match. And
Raonic, unfortunately, could not win his first match, so he just continues to have problems.
Yeah, I think this is a lot mental with Raonic. And look, Kiki Milanovic lost again, too. She's 0 for 15. And people keep asking, what do you do with players who are on a losing streak? Sloane, 0 for 8 now.
Yeah.
Although Sloane says, don't worry, I'll give you something to cheer about soon enough. But with Milanovic and Raonic, I think it's different. I think they've got to go back and play doubles. To me, you've got to find some venue where they're going to win. They must win. They must learn how to win again. And if that means going down a little bit of a grade on a tournament, as Nishikori's doing, and playing some small events in the U.S. before he plays the main ATP Tour events later this year, that's what you need to do. I think Milanovic, who was ranked number 1 in the world in doubles, must go back to playing doubles and must get some wins under her belt so she gets that feeling back. The same thing with Milos, because to me this is all mental. I do think, though, that Milanovic needs a coach. She's got some huge hitches in her game, and just relying on mom and dad in that insular little unit of theirs is not enough.
All right, top seed, world number 1, Simona Halep survived an injured ankle in a tough first-round match with Destiny Ava. So what about Halep's performance and that ankle?
As always, Simona Halep provides the most compelling match of the tournament so far. Simona Halep, top seed, world number 1. No other player in the draw would have been able to continue and win a match on the significant injury she had in that match. She went over on the ankle. Quite frankly, I thought she was cramping in the hamstring or something first, tried to compensate and went over on the ankle. She's had problems with that Achilles. And, I mean, when she went over, Greg, we thought that was it. But she is such a strong competitor, has such heart. We call her, hustle with heart. She just hustles. She's got heart. She's got conviction. This is what she's built her career on. This is why she's number 1 in the world. And even though Destiny Ava was absolutely playing fearless tennis, 17-year-old hitting winners from everywhere, serving harder than Madison Keys, according to the stats, and was playing out of her mind, no nerves at all after the first couple of games, she said. was giving Halep a real run for her money. Simona stayed tough. And we have to mention, it was a dramatic match, Greg. I mean, this poor 17-year-old girl, the wild card from Australia, lots of pressure. As we mentioned a few days ago, she wished that she could just take a break and get away from everything because it was too much pressure on her, too much of the spotlight. I think she thought she had won the first. She was up 5-2. But apparently she thought she may have won the first set and started hyperventilating. And she was hyperventilating so badly, she raced off the court. The medic, the physio, everyone, Pam Whitecross, the tournament supervisor, all went following after her. And that was where Halep really was able to sit down and calm herself down and regroup and get the momentum of the match back when she went on court again when Destiny came back. But she, of course, down 5-2, Simona came back to win it in a breaker. And it was Simona's smarts, though, in that break that allowed her to really change her strategy, change the way she was doing things. She started getting that first serve in. It wasn't just the fact that Destiny, yes, threw in a couple doubles. It was the fact that Simona started getting the first serve in. And Simona started to move her. I mean, you've got to move Destiny and make her hit off balance. And that's what Simona finally did. She started moving her side to side. She started hitting down the line and changing the direction of the ball. So Destiny could not get a swing on it. And I just give her such credit, Greg. It's so funny to hear all the different commentators and all the different journalists from around the world show such respect for Simona Halep. And, of course, with ESPN, they were broadcasting it. And, instead of bringing up all the dramatic moments of her losses at Grand Slams, why not bring up the incredible dramatic moments of her wins, beating Svitolina from match points down at the French, beating Azarenka at Wimbledon. I mean, she has had so many great moments. And as I said, Greg, there is no other player in women's tennis who would have survived, come back, and actually won a match with that injury as Simona did yesterday.
All right. Now, if Halep were to go down, again, let's hope that that ankle heals and she's able to play. But let's just say if she goes down, which other players have the best chance to grab the title?
Well, we've already mentioned Madison Keys. With Lindsay Davenport in her camp, she's got a unit there, a team unit that is just 100% behind her. You never hear a negative word behind the scenes or on the record. They are 100% positive about her. Again, we mentioned that it's the improved maturity and the fitness. At the U.S. Open, we sat out there till 2 a.m. watching these matches. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun for her probably, but she found a way to win. It wasn't her best tennis. I still don't think she's playing her best tennis, but I think what's great about Madison is she realizes she doesn't have to play her best tennis to win a match. She has to do her best thinking and be resourceful and really find ways to win. And that's what she's doing now, Greg. I don't think we've seen her best tennis, which is scary because she's still winning. I think she's got a chance to win this. We've mentioned Angie Kerber, new coach Wim Fissette.
Oh, yeah.
Such a difference. Angie Kerber has not lost this year, and it's the physicality that is back. She has reset her body. It has taken a year, but that physicality is back. You can see it in the upper legs. You can see it in the shoulders, where she really generates all the absorption of being able to absorb the power from an opponent, but also then ricochet it back with her own power. So she's a counterpuncher. She's a lefty, but she also has to be able to hit her shots, and that's what we're seeing now is that physicality and the confidence with Wim Fissette, a renowned, experienced coach, has really proved the difference.
And then 2 big second-round matches for some of these ladies who have a shot at the number 1 ranking, and of course potentially winning the title here. That includes Svitolina going up against Siniakova, and by the way, Sharapova is going up against Sevastova. We talked about that in our preview show, and Sevastova is the one that knocked her out at the U.S. Open.
Well, Sevastova had a tough match being Levchenko. So Sevastova went 3 sets there. This is a very fast court. It will favor Maria. It's supposed to be very hot for the second round, which means the ball will even travel faster. That will also favor Maria. There's no question that Maria is the favorite for that match. She did get some revenge back in Asia where she beat Sevastova. But I think, Greg, the key for that is how Maria serves and how she moves, because Sevastova is going to jerk her around the court as she always does. And Maria played okay, but not terrific. She really played an opponent who's not even in her league, not even close to it, and could have won that really 1-0, but made a day out of it, made a work day out of it by really not able to get the first serve in, making unforced errors unnecessarily. So we'll have to see if Maria can really cut down on that and really adjust better to the conditions. She is such a champion in her own right. She's won this title before. That's why she got to take the trophy out for the draw ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
But so she's been there. She's done it. She knows what it takes. And she's got the savvy. And you know that Maria is going to do everything she can. The thing that really helps me have a great feeling about Maria is that she's trying to make the changes she needs to play better tennis. Mm-hmm. She's trying to put more spin on the ground strokes. I see the spin now on the forehand. I see a little bit more spin on the backhand. She's trying to get a little bit lower with the legs, get the racket under the ball. She's, really for margin for error, so she doesn't have all these unforced errors. So we're going to have to see if she makes these mental adjustments during the match, if she starts spraying them, and also it's the serve. It's really about getting that first serve in.
All right, and of course, Roger just keeps on trucking. He has no problem with. We didn't expect him to have any problems, and we really don't expect him to have any problems here in the entire first week. But what about that Nike getup? And I got to tell you, you mentioned the whole Nike thing to me the other day on the show. We talked about it, and I don't get into the fashion too much. But then I started to actually pay attention to some of the Nike outfits that were out there, and they didn't.
You're not going to wear that flamingo pink?
No. Some of these outfits they look like they're kind of short. I mean, they don't even look like they fit a lot of these players.
Well, I have to say the girls' skirts are rather short. I still go with the Fila dress on Pliskova. It's the most beautiful dress. It shows you can be classic and really refined and polished, but be on trend and really a cool-looking dress. I mean, it's just so flattering on her, and everyone wants that Fila dress. But the Nike, as you mentioned, this Nike outfit, this flamingo pink on the guys like the Dimitrov and sock and so forth. It's a lot of pink. I mean, seeing Rafa Nadal in pink is a little bit much. Thank goodness he has the sleeveless shirt though, so you really focus on the arms. Roger did not go that route. He's got the white on white as usual. But look, it's interesting. Nike likes to make a statement. They have this neon pink going with the men, but I love the girls' outfits. Keys and Svitolina looked absolutely terrific in the shorts. Garcia as well. She, of course, winning her first match of the year and putting to doubt any issue over her injuries. I think it's funny. I really like all the fashion. I think they've done a good job. Adidas as well. Muguruza looking statuesque as always. It's funny to see because, of course, Kvitova too. Kvitova went down 10-8 in the third to Pekovic, and what was one of the tightest matches of the day yesterday, and the most emotional, I think, because that went back and forth. But even she looked trim in the Nike gear and the Nike kit. So great start for fashion, and it's almost overshadowing Sabalenka's grunting, which both sides of the locker room were talking about. Sabalenka playing Barty and being ridiculed by the crowd about her grunting, and Barty, of course, needing 3 sets to pull that one out as a local favorite. Was not actually happy about all the ridicule for her opponent. It didn't really help her because the opponent got so angry, a big hitter anyway, that she was just bashing balls all over the place. But it'll be interesting, Greg. I think it'll be, with Kvitova losing, Barty's having a little bit of trouble. Halep does have the draw. The question is now, can she play at full tilt? Her coach, Darren Cahill, said that looks like she can. I think we'll look for that. That's one big question. Novak's the other. And Roger, there is no question. He's Mr. Perfect. Yeah. He glides through, and that's because he's done the right preparation. He has the right mindset, always the professional. And what's interesting, I love how he is able to also, I'm not going to say manipulate the press, but position himself in the press in always the best light as far as taking the pressure off in an event. He's downplaying his chances. He's being very humble. He's being very modest, keeping his head down low, letting them focus on Novak and Rafa, letting them really go to the extent of putting them as the favorites for this title, so he can kind of go under the radar too.
Yeah, I like that post-match interview on the court. That was
Will Ferrell.
Yes, with Will Ferrell and McEnroe. That was that was kind of cool.
Roger tried to give John the stat lines, and John says, "Oh, come on, tell me the truth." But this is Roger. He is just such a really good role model on and off court, because this is what you do when you're the defending champion. You try and take expectations down, take the pressure off so you can just play your game and worry about your matches and not have to think about the expectation. And this is how you take pressure off yourself. So, we talked about this so many times with players who get so riddled with nerves, most especially, quite frankly, Rafa and Novak. So I think it's always, the mind games are always interesting that Roger plays off court, and there's no question he does. And he puts it right back on Novak and Rafa. We'll have to see how they handle it.
All right, and by the way, keep in mind as far as a couple of other interesting round 2 matches or situations from the first couple of days. Edmund upset Kevin Anderson in 5, so that really opens up the bottom quarter under Dimitrov and Kyrgios's top quarter with Sock, Pui, and now Kevin Anderson going down.
Right.
Also, we have a very we talked about this potential second-round match the other day, Chung and Medvedev. So those are 2 very good young players to keep an eye on.
And, of course, Misha Zverev, we should say, pulled out. He retired with injury to Chung.
Yep, and then Tsonga and Shapovalov might be the best second-round match of them all.
And, of course, Shapovalov beat Tsonga at the Open, so a rematch there. It'll be interesting, as we remember, Tsonga playing so well at the Australian last year. So he's a tough guy down there. He likes it down there. But Shapovalov, with all the flair, just loves every minute. You have to love his attitude. He just has the greatest attitude of any of these young guys. And as you mentioned, Kyrgios also. Can we mention good attitude with Kyrgios? Guess what, Greg? He's got a great attitude, too. And so he's going to play again today. He looked absolutely invincible out there. That serve was lethal. And to me, as we mentioned, that whoever really comes out of that Kyrgios-Dimitrov part has a good chance to make the final.
All right, Andrea, thanks for checking in with us after the first couple of days, round 1 in the books of the Australian Open. We'll talk to you again on Thursday for another Shot Clock edition of Prime Sports Tennis.
Look forward to it. Thanks a lot.
All right, that's Andrea Leanne. I'm Greg DePalma. Thank you for tuning in to Andrea Leanne's Prime Sports Tennis Australian Open Shot Clock podcast on Prime Sports Tennis, Prime Sports Radio Network. We'll see you on Thursday.